I will be introducing the next session. This one is an extension of what we just spoke about, the music industry, and it is the Naija Blueprint lessons from Naija Blueprint lessons from Afrobeats. I will be having a living legend. Some of us who grew up with the Nigerian music industry as a heavy influence know him very well. He'll be our moderator for this panel. I'm speaking of no other person than Olumide Ogunde, also known as ID Kabasa. Please, a round of applause for him as he makes his way to the stage. Please, let's keep the energy up. Thank you very much. He's professionally known as ID Kabasa, and he is a pioneering Nigerian music producer with 20 years plus career experience, right, in the Afrobeat sector. And on this panel, we will be having Audu Maikori. He is from Chocolate City Group. Is he here with us? Please, a round of applause for him as he makes his way to the stage. We will be having Joey Akan, Excel Joab, Ade Ayo Adebiyi, Ikemefona Alexander Okeke, YBNL's manager, Sam Onyemelokwe, the MD, Trace Anglophone West Africa. Please, let's give them a round of applause as they make their way to the stage. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Temitope Agbeyo, the corporate comms manager, Maven Records. Please, a round of applause for them. This is going to be a very interesting session. I am very eager, and you should be too.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I trust we've been having a great time. I got in and the conversation has really been rich. And I have, let me use the word generals here, that will be taking the conversation that Bizu just had now, will be taking it a bit further. I have a couple of questions here, but when I got into this room, especially from the last question that was asked, I was just shaking my head and laughing. So I think we might actually be starting from there. We'll be talking about the Afrobeats space, the blueprint, some of the lessons that we've learned. It started as should I use the word, an indigenous thing, and it has gone global now. So what are some of the lessons that we've been able to learn? We'll be looking at how we can make these lessons even to other sectors that we have in Nigeria and all of that. But I want us to start the conversation, and I love the fact that is here. She asked a question, and though the moderator gave a very good answer when Bizu gave an answer to it, why we can't change it, and the other lady mentioned in what I think is actually the root cause, because a lot of times in Africa, we treat the symptoms, we don't look at the root cause. So when the question was being asked, I was going to answer. I clocked 50 this year, so I've been around since the 80s. Everything you see today, they were taught. We learnt it. Everything. If you use Michael Jackson as a yardstick, yeah, if you use... 1250. If you use Michael Jackson as a yardstick, that will not be a good example, because by the time you start seeing some of the stories. So, and I also have a problem with it. I have kids now in my house. I really can allow my kids to watch some certain kind of videos. So I want us to first talk about this. That's what do we think? Because as much as we are going to learn from the good examples, let's also look at some of the things that regulators are also struggling with. What are some of the things that we think we can do now to actually help with curbing nudity, curbing, like you rightly said, porn in our videos? So
okay, so I think so far, I'll say the government are trying their best. I mean, they're just so little the government can do. To quote Martin Luther King, he said morality cannot be legislated, but behavior can be regulated. So you can try to regulate people's behavior, but we're in an era where there's accessibility beyond, to a large extent, governmental controls. I mean, to what extent does government control what's on YouTube, or what's on TikTok, or what's on satellite TV? I think how they can do it is to control the platforms and not necessarily the actions of the artists. If these platforms are... Sir?
No, I'm listening to you.
So if these platforms are told, like their TV platforms and radio platforms, no vulgarity. You make a song and you have a cleaner version that can go on radio, because you know if you take that version of radio, it won't be played. And if the radio does a mistake and play it, they are going to answer to the government. So I think the government cannot focus on individual creative, because that makes it very, very difficult, because there are too many. But if you focus on the platforms, you can aggregate them, the social media, the digital platforms, and you regulate those platforms and tell them that this is what we want to see, this is what you're not allowed to broadcast, then I think that's one effective step in curbing nudity and pornographic content in our media. Yeah.
No, what was funny was when he was saying the government should regulate platforms. Sam, who from Trace TV, was like, that was very funny. I mean, to answer the question, there's this old African saying that I don't know if Gen Z knows, which is that, like, it's not only the parents that raise a child, but the community. Yeah. The problem now is globalization. The community has gotten way bigger. Way bigger. If you have kids who are teenagers and they have a phone, you can almost not control what they have on their phones. The safest way might not be not to even give them a phone to start with, which is almost absurd at the same time, right? I think the problem is much more than even the artists and even like the TV platforms. This is a general global problem. There are studies that have shown that platforms like Instagram, for example, purposely push certain type of content on young adults to get reactions from them. So, for example, Instagram will push beauty products on teenage girls. So you see a girl that is a teenager who, if she should be worrying about anything, it should be her studies or something. She's worrying about beauty products, pimples, does she look sexy, and stuff. So it's a much complicated conversation than to say it's this person's fault or this person's fault. I do believe that, yes, we should regulate as much as possible, and we should fight back. How we can fight back is with clean content, family-led content, as much as we are pushing, because we can't stop it. We can't stop people from doing what they want to do, but we need to go back to having a lot of family-driven content. I grew up in the era of Masquerade. I grew up in the era of Masquerade. I love Masquerade. I grew up in Aba. The guy that played Gringory was not even living far from my house, and he was a local legend. So content like that, and I remember from his conversation earlier that there are plans for that, and I was so excited about that. So that's how I think that we can largely fight back. Yeah.
Okay. So let me twist the question a bit now. You work with the record,
especially when it reaches Sam.
I need to answer before you twist.
Because there's
before you twist, I need to answer.
Now he works with Trace, so we are going to look at that. So now you work with the record label. By the way, I also own the record label, and they've said so much, which I want us to pay attention to. The part of culture, sincerely, nothing that you see online that is not reflective of what is going on in our different. We grew up dodging to reach Dowda the sexy guy. These kids, they don't need to dodge. All you need to do is open your phone and you go on TikTok and bam, and nobody is controlling that. And I want to come this way that you work with a record label, I think the biggest in Africa. Anybody can argue that, and one of the most respected labels. But are there agendas that you look at in terms of morals to actually curb this thing?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I agree a lot with like what Exela said, what Adia has also said, but just looking at it from a record label perspective, Bizu presented the other time and we are seeing like the numbers is important, right? And just to be very frank, when Bizu was presenting, we are seeing that most of the numbers where the money is coming from, most of them is not here, right? Now, the issue of nudity or just like content in general and control, I think a lot of times is a moral issue, is a cultural issue, which I agree, right? That it should be like some level of restraint as to like how much we're able to like just put out content that anybody can consume. However, looking at the numbers, again, as I said, if we want to make rules as to how we want, a lot of this content to be portrayed, then on the other side as well, we have to find ways whereby we make, we empower our own audience to be able to give back to the creator. I can promise you easily that if the USA now, some of the big music markets in the world say, we're not going to be showing any music video that has nudity in it, I promise you it's going to stop. Right? Why? Because the money is from there. The streams are from there. The market is there. So what we are saying here is not even most of the time made for us. Right? So most of the time, the average artist that's making a music video really is not thinking too much about if we are consuming it at the bank. Why? Because the bank is not going to pay. Right? However, if the bank is paying, if the TV stations are paying to play music, if the radio is paying to play music, then they can make the rules as to how that music is being presented. So just from the side of the label, I think that's also one thing about like how we are going to empower our people, our own platforms to be able to also like give back to those creators. That will also help us to kind of like, achieve this faster.
Okay, thank you so very much. And I quite agree with him because he who plays the pipe dictate the dance. Where the money is coming from, influence will definitely come from it. I think anything that we want to really change, we need to also think about investing into them and having our own agenda. So now to TV. Trace is on digital platform. I know Trace, they have different platforms which cater for different, should I use moral? We have Trace Gospel, we have all of that. Are there ideas around, do you control what comes to your station? Can you control what comes to your station and still make profit as a station?
Thank you, ID. Unfortunately, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to go back to the original question. And I'm going to be a bit controversial because we're all assuming that we agree there's a problem. I don't think there's a problem. Okay? In the 60s or the 70s, when we started, maybe I wasn't there. Maybe when mommy was dancing disco, what did her dad say to her? Oh, this music you're going for, your dancing is too provocative. Is this that? Every generation goes through this. Let's be frank. Let's not play with it. You said that a 15-year-old girl should be facing her studies. My 16-year-old daughter is very focused on her studies, but also likes to look cute. And you liked to look cute when you were 16 too, as did all of us here. So let's not be hypocritical, right? Sure, it goes too far sometimes. Everybody can agree. We don't want pornography. But thankfully, the government has stepped in long ago and made rules around that. Am I speaking well? Yeah. And we also have rules around, what are the words? Around, things that go overboard, both vulgarity on lyrics to looks on the, appearances and so on. And I think those are perfectly well done, right? Trends change. And sure, they're showing a lot of shaking and all of that stuff now, right? And it will evolve again, right, to where boys want to wear suits to look good. It will come back. Yeah. Chill, easy, as they say.
So, okay, thank you so very much. I actually would have loved that we also answered that question about, because I'm a record label exec, and I know every artist you want to work with is also telling you that I want to do music that sells. And when you speak to these guys, they tell you that what sells is sex. What sells is the booze. I quite agree with what you mentioned about the hypocrisy of, we wanting to say probably a generation was better than the other. But we also need to understand that freedom, there is really no freedom. Freedom is your ability to choose what you are enslaved to. So we cannot choose to be enslaved to what we know in the future is going to destroy people and all of that. So which is why I'm asking that. Is there an agenda? Because I know there are TV stations, there are platforms. We saw a tweet by the ex-guy recently that said we should boycott a particular platform because of their stance on, the Gabriel movement. And I'm saying, is there an agenda that is driven by money to actually push these things on TV?
100%. 100%. If we've all agreed to be, in this society, we're also in a commercial and capitalist society. So what sells will drive it. It's a fact, and I will do what I can do to increase my revenues. Sure. Again, I'm not wearing horns here, so please nobody should. But there are lines. Of course, we're not going to go into too far, right? And definitely at Trace and most other platforms, we do have our own internal checks and balances when something is too much. We've rejected videos simply based on it's too graphic. It's it's there. So but again, I think facing the reality of it. Look, there are artists who do very well off of being incredibly sexual, like a Nicki Minaj. There are artists who do very well off of being having self-respect, like a Janelle Monáe, right? And honestly, if we ban all of this stuff on TV, the kids will go and find it on somewhere else, right? Even me in the 80s without a phone, when they told me first, I want you to hear this one now, because even me in the 80s without a phone, right? When they were telling me somehow I found a porno mag. I had them on that bed. So you still won't control everything, right? In fact, sometimes the impetus to control something more makes you lose control of it. So,
yeah, thank you so very much. I think you should please clap for the panelists. The room was really hot when we got here, so we had to quickly jump on this. And I think it should be normal for me to allow everyone to actually reintroduce themselves. I will start. My name is Olumide, popularly known as ID Kubasa. I'm a record label exec and also a music producer. I'm a creative guy in North. So
my name is Adi Adepi. I'm an entertainment editor of Pulse Nigeria.
My name is Excel Joab. I'm the head of A&R for AWOL Sony Music West Africa.
I'm Tim Tokwe. I'm the corporate communications manager at Maven Records.
My name is Sam Onyemelukwe. I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Business Development for Trace.
Okay, thank you so very much. So, Afrobeat is not all about the bad news. It's not all about the nudity. If there is anything that Nigeria is exporting now, that the world is talking about, that is putting us on the global space, that everyone is talking about. I get to travel a lot. I get into malls, and all you hear is Afrobeats. You get into stadiums, and all you hear is Afrobeats. If there is a good name that we have that is even pushing us forward more than any other story that you are hearing, I think it's Afrobeat. So there are things from this that I think I want us to discuss to see how we can also learn to replicate in probably some other things that we do. So, number one, it started as a local, let me use the word indigenous sound. Like I said, I've been within the industry actively since the 90s. I've seen evolution of sound. I've seen evolution. I know some of the restraints that were faced in time past. Now, something has happened, and I want us to mention some of those things that we think has happened, that this same sound that has been coming for a long time. What are some of the things, Adeayo, that you think has happened that has given it prominence right now within the world space? Yeah.
Okay, so I'll not necessarily talk about it. Is it better? Okay, no, I think you can hear me. So I'll not necessarily go into the creative aspect. I think I'll let you talk about that. How the sound has changed and how we make. I don't think we make better music than we used to do before, because I started listening to music, like deliberately conscious consumer of music in the early 2000s, from the Plantation Boys to Subaba, Idris Abdul Karim. And when I weigh the music then with what we have now, I think they are just as good, if not slightly better. So I don't think I think in terms of production, in terms of how we approach our music, in terms of the aesthetics of we've been able to match and play at a global level. But what I would say has given us that mileage to take our music from Nigeria and Africa to the world would first be it's not particularly cool to be Nigerian, to be black. Some Nigerians were trying to claim that they're Jamaicans or Caribbeans because dancehall was popular then. But when Afrobeat happened, you wanted to be Nigerian. It was cool to be Nigerian. And now there's a trend of Nigerian music being popular in Latin America, in Colombia, Guatemala, because these guys are being influenced by Nigerian music, and it's just the spirituality of music and the identity, because it's black identity, it's black spirituality, and we are all scattered around the world, and it's one way for us to just really connect with the sound, and that's the music connects with your identity.
Oh, thank you so much. So I think we should pay attention to one of the things that he said, especially about the guys in diaspora. It was being termed as brain drain, but it's becoming a game to us right now. And which is one of the things I will also say, that we need to be careful of what we are correcting. Sometimes we correct what we don't like, not because it is wrong. When all of these things started, people were complaining that people are moving. We never knew that this was what was going to... Because when you go to clubs abroad now, you see a lot of Nigerian DJs that were here. You see a lot of Nigerian artists that were here going there to perform. And they take a whole lot of our artists abroad to also do some of this. So that thing was initially seen as a brain drain. But to those of us that are in the music industry, will tell you that it's a major gain. So, Excel, you work as an A&R person, and what do you think changed within that space? Because A&R was not really a popular thing from way back. As much as I agree, 120% that digitalization, right from the days of MySpace, changed everything for us to Facebook, as simple as Facebook was. There was also the part that a lot of new things came into the industry. New structures and all of that. One of them was actually had to do with A&R, getting the artists, hooking them up and doing all of that. So can you speak a bit on that and how it has helped grow up?
Yeah, so I think a very important point to note before I even get into this question properly is that Nigerian music has always had international appeal.
Amen.
Nigerian music. From when Bob Marley was in a record label called Island Records. And when Bob Marley died, this Island Records that was based in the UK said, okay, we have a problem. Bob Marley has gone. We need to replace him with somebody that can also have that level of great music and global appeal. And they went with King Sunny Ade. King Sunny Ade. So right from time, Nigerian music has always had global appeal. We have had poor history of documentation of it. King Sunny Ade has done arenas all over the world. A lot of the Fuji artists and the high life artists from way back have done incredible feats. So Afrobeats is standing on the shoulders of those people. Now, and also, while this era was going on, the record labels actually were here. The Sony Music was here. They were here. This is the CD era. Decca was here, exactly. This was the CD era. They were all here because we have always been a huge market for selling music and exporting music, right? And now what has happened is that everything has compounded to this point, right? We are the lucky ones to receive, the benefits of the hard work of decades and decades of hard work. We are the beneficiaries rather. So with the current state of the industry, because it became a thing that had a lifeline and was very viable and profitable, the record labels had to now properly establish themselves within the nation, right? And even aside from the international record labels, we even have the indigenous ones like Maven, who have done a fantastic years, and YBNL, who you've been a part of history as well over the years of not just creating music, but actually structuring the business, because it is a business. That's the part that I feel like a lot of times people on the outside forget, that the music business is not an emotional place. It's very, very business-like. Very, very business. In fact, it might be one of the hardest businesses in the world, because you can do everything right and still fail. It's so painful. But the need for the structuring came because we started expanding globally. Last year, December, I was in Saudi Arabia talking on a panel about Afrobeats, and people knew what I was talking about. I was shocked. Why?
Saudi.
Why? Why do you know this? That's how far the music has traveled. In the Latin countries, like you mentioned, they have Afrobeat artists who are Latino. They use our producers, they use our production style. I remember when Beyonce dropped the Afrobeats album and she had that song with Shatta Wale, and I went to check the producers, and it was Diplo, a white boy. That's how far the music has traveled. I think now we've done a good job of doing our best to structure the industry. We have way more to go, way more work to do. And I think part of the work now is how do we make sure that what we have built is sustainable and we are actually eating good. No, I'm serious, because we're not eating good yet. Yeah. So very few people are eating good. Very few. If all of us in this room now, there's food and it's only me and Heidi that eat, we're not eating good now. Yeah, the community should eat good.
Everybody should eat good.
Yeah, so we need to structure it because, for example, it is crazy that globally, in fact, let me put it this way. Globally, Nigeria influences culture. Yeah. Globally, Nigeria influences culture. Globally.
Dirty, December.
Yeah, Nollywood.
Everything.
There is a reason you will see US movies have billboards here in Nigeria. Do you know why? Because if Nigerians go online and post about anything, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the whole world sees this. Our population does that for us. And we are almost bullish.
Very, very.
Do you understand?
Numbers.
In London, there's a thing called Notting Hill Carnival. Yeah. It's to celebrate Caribbean culture. Caribbean culture. Nigeria has a stage.
We own it now.
There's a Nigerian stage at Notting Hill. So we are very bullish. But we can get away with this because we are very influential. We are very creative people. I just think that we have now gotten to a point where if we do not improve upon the structures that we have, we're going to miss out.
So, I'm coming to talk right now. I've been around for a while, and I think one of the major reasons why Afrobeats could not go beyond, actually plateaued at the point, was the fact that we were not treating it as an ecosystem. Every artist wants to own everything. Every artist wants to. At that point, almost every artist the issue of independent artists did not start today. Before, every artist was independent. They were making the money. But, structures came in. We had record labels coming up, more structures coming in. We started having A&Rs. We started having people that we do stuff. So the money is meant to grow. But this also came with its own problems. The issue of artists and record label, where the artists, after they get signed, they start crying foul that they've been ripped, that you are ripping us. So I want you to also just speak a little bit about that, as in how has all these structures coming in, what have been the blessings, what have been the causes, and how can we forge ahead from there?
Thank you, Heidi. I think, again, just to buttress some of their points, I think one of the things we also learned from the past is the mistakes of, a lot of people that came, before, this new generation. On the human capital end of things, I think most of us sitting here, not a lot of us went to schools to learn music, right? A lot of, the biggest execs, a lot of, the best people that are working in this scene that I know, they study a lot of other different courses in university. And learning really has to be one of the biggest things that has happened in the past 10 years for this culture. And most of us that work on the scene as executives, we have to learn a lot from the mistakes of the people that came, before us, people that were creators, people that were executives at that end. And now just translating this again into ID's question about what the structure now is and how that impacts the artists that are signed and like the requests they are always making as to how contracts should be. I think the issue of contracts is like a big topic. I think if we're about to cover that, it's probably going to be another session on its own. But what at least just looking at Maven, right, where I'm coming from, I think there's a lot of like humanity that has to go into the process of engaging creators. It is a business, for sure, but also like somebody is spending hundreds of millions believing in something that has not happened. That's always what is happening. Like, it's an investment at the end of the day. However, just understanding that you are dealing with humans, or like any big product, right? Music is the product most of the time is a human being, right? With emotions, with feelings. The person can change in a year, as all of us can change. So just understanding that will give us like the ability to be able to maybe work better on the scene and, you know, just sort out all these problems with contracts and artists and all of that stuff. How we are going to move forward, again, I think a lot of us have, you know, just contributed to that. A lot of more learning is still needed. I think, again, as I said, a lot of support from the government is very important. Just like our institutions that are like, that we are building needs a lot of like government support, policies as well. But again, as I said, it's a big topic, to be honest. And just to answer it simply, I think it's just to remember that it's a human business at the end of the day. And we are still all learning. It's pretty like new, the business itself, and a lot of learnings to be done. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so very much. Okay, so at some point, we had Channel O, we had MTV Base, we had Trace, we have all of these guys. I think they were the first set of guys that actually helped to put Afrobeats to the mainstream. Because I could remember we wouldn't mind traveling all the way to South Africa to do some of these things. So can you just give us some highlights in terms of what TV has done over time for Afrobeat and where it is now?
No, certainly. Yes, in the era of the 2000s, or the turn of the century, let's call it, music TV was critical in spreading, you know, Afrobeats for sure. I was opportune to actually, if I have my history correct, place the first music video on Channel O, first Nigerian music video. That was Kush, Let's Live Together. Kush, Let's Live Together. That was T.Y. Bello, Lara George, etc. Yeah. And when they approved the video, they called me. They said, they took it. Normally they don't take Nigerian videos, so this was it. But things have, you know, and I will speak about it from this direction. You know, music videos or any media platform plays, especially those around culture, play on the razor's edge. Because on one side, we have to follow culture. We have to play what's popular. We have to show what's popular. On the other side of it, we have to be always pushing and looking for the next new thing, right? And you have to have that balance all the time. And I think that that as music video or the music videos themselves, whether nudity or not, so let's not get back to that one. You know, we started to find that Nigerians were craving our own culture, and because we're such a loud and proud people. And please, yes, I'm a full-blooded Nigerian man, even if I'm half white. So, you know, we're so loud and proud that's what started to gravitate. So we followed and led at the same time and helped expose music, you know, Afrobeats, Naija music, not only on the continent, but beyond as it sailed. Trace right now, we operate 30 TV channels in about 180 countries. We're almost throughout the whole globe. Right, and even in Brazil, you mentioned Brazil. You know, we play a lot of Afrobeats there, and we're seen for there. But let's be very clear: the digital world has changed everything, right? We all know that, but that's old news, right? And if you don't know that YouTube is actually the biggest destination for music globally. It's the biggest music platform, you know, available. So we've had to adapt. You know, our business goes far beyond the channels that people see as, you know, kind of the evidence of what we do. But we're in a privileged position to, you know, to have led some of that culture, have great relationships, and have trust from viewers and fans and the industry alike. So,
So thank you so very much. We are actually rounding up now. I will say this, and I think we should just call it a day. We said we have less than 2 minutes. So
That's like a short music video.
Very short music video. Even our music are very short now. I think some of the things that we want us to just put everything together is for us to look at the future of Afrobeat is from some of the lessons that we've learned. I think we need to pay attention a lot to documenting the narrative, like Excel rightly said. In time past, we didn't document most of these achievements not that they were not documented, but most of those things were not really in this open space and all of that. We can in fact, the way I see Afrobeat will soon not be a Nigerian thing. Because as we speak, we are still not documenting. And I think the major reason for that is, and I love what NBC is doing right now, that they are building platforms. Anybody that builds the platform will definitely own the people. In our chain of operation, distribution is king, whether you like it or not. Once you are not in charge of distribution, the person distributing can influence anything. You as a creative, you are a pawn in the chess game. At the end of the day, the person that is distributing, which is where I will say we might need to start building more platforms. Imagine if Spotify should shut down today, if Apple Music shut down today, what is going to happen to us? Are we building Nigerian? No, I don't even want to say Nigeria because one of the mistakes we've made in time past is to look at when we say indigenous, when we say local, we see it from something that is inferior. But rather, I see it as our true authentic, being authentic, something that is your own. That is what being indigenous is meant to mean. But every time we hear indigenous, we hear local. What comes to our mind is it's inferior. No, there is nothing inferior. But in fact, black is beautiful.
Amen.
As far as I'm concerned, anything that has been built over time, I think started from being black.
Amen.
Where we are from, the soil is black. Every energy, light itself will not shine if it is not black. So we are the future energy that the world is looking for. But we might need to manage the narrative. Like you rightly said, as much as there are things that are happening that we don't like, let's be careful not to throw the baby away with the bathwater. Yeah. In just saying, let everything, because Afrobeat is taking our culture further than
anything else.
Religion.
Afrobeat
is taking our culture further than the government. Afrobeat is taking our culture. People now want to eat jollof rice because they heard Afrobeat. People now, footballers, are celebrating some of our old songs that we've even forgotten. What's his name? This guy's name.
Footballer.
Lamille. Yeah, Scales. Some of the old songs, they've started recycling them. And some of us are also working on some of those old songs, where we're coming from. Because if you don't know where you are coming from, you are lost where you are. So we are trying to bring some of these things. So we will need the support of the government in terms of policies that protects the rights of the artists, policies that, because as we were speaking the other time, I'm also was going to ask the question that, are you paying attention that if you give everything out to people for free, most of the people that are creating them, they will be broke? Yep. Is anybody thinking about that? And once they know that if I'm going to put stuff on your platform, I'm not going to make money, they will keep putting stuff on those other platforms where the money is available. In fact, money rules the world. I think you want to say something.
Can I add to this conclusion? Yeah. I think let's recognize, first of all, the Honorable DG and the esteemed members of government that have brought us here today and appreciate the efforts. And truly appreciate the efforts. As you said, it's critical that government partners with the entertainment industry, and we're seeing that every day as you bring practitioners and those close to collaborate with and find the roots. So I just wanted to highlight and appreciate that. One of the things we need to be careful in Afrobeats is that, our youth need where to go, right? In other climates where things are more steady, youth enter music or entertainment out of passion. Here, because they did gold rush and they think they'll be the next burner. But we're making steps, and we highly appreciate it.
So I think our time is up. So
yes,
thank you so very much for having us.
Thank you. Thank God they've come to bring me Mr. Collins. You're welcome, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins Olua is a Nigerian technology consultant, an e-business strategist with over 20 years of experience in IT services and digital transformation. He currently serves as consultant at V2D Convergence, providing guidance on technology adoption and business optimization. Previously, a network administrator at Maxim Pact Limited, Collins is recognized for his expertise in IT infrastructure and enterprise solutions. An active thought leader, he advocates for inclusive digital growth, leveraging technology to empower organizations and citizens across Nigeria. Please join me as we welcome Mr. Collins Olua to moderate this session. You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Please have your seat. Then I'll go straight to call the panelist. First on my list is Vesa Muanen. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Thank you very much, Mr. Vesen. He is a cybersecurity expert. He flew all the way from Finland to join us at Africast today. Please welcome Mr. Vesa Muanen is a cybersecurity focused project manager at Goal4, based in Finland, with a strong track record in information security leadership. He previously served as an information security manager at both FCG and OPSC. His work includes assessing and enhancing clients' cybersecurity maturity with expertise in ISO standards and strategic development. Vesa combines technical insights with project leadership to drive secure digital transformation across sectors. Once again, you're welcome, sir. Please, can we give him a round of applause, please? We also have Olumade Awobifa, who is also going to be represented on the panel today. Is he here? Is he here? Oh, thank you very much, sir. Please, let's welcome him. He is a seasoned Nigeria cybersecurity expert and consultant with over 16 years of experience in IT security, risk management, and auditing. Certified in CISA, CISM, and CEH. He currently serves as cybersecurity consultant at Tom Secure Technologies Limited, leading vulnerability assessments and IT audits. Please welcome him again to the podium. Okay, please, we also want to call Mr. Bolabo to please come for this panel session. You're welcome, sir. Please, that round of applause is not loud enough. Please, sir, you're welcome. I will give you the opportunity to introduce yourself when you speak. Thank you very much. I also want to call on Olatunji Igbalojobi. He's also a security consultant at Cybercode Limited. I know he's in the house. Please, can someone bring him to the stage? Okay, thank you very much. He actively contributes to national cybersecurity strategy, data governance, and digital security initiatives. Please, join me again as we welcome him. I'm sure we all are going to be very, very interested in this panel session. I will go now to hand over the microphone to the moderator. Please, you can give the people time to reintroduce themselves.
All right, thank you very much, madam. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're not affected too much by the weather. I hear it's raining cats and dogs outside. Yeah, that's mine. All right, so to kick this off, I just want to lay a bit of a background. I believe my colleagues here will do justice to everything we're about to talk about today. So cybersecurity and digital safety imperative, what exactly does this even mean? I mean, it's a mouthful, and I blame that on the DG because that's the title he gave to me. So we'll try to give us a bit of a background so that the conversations here would make a bit of sense. And I'll try to encourage my colleagues here to sort of, like we say, dumb it down a bit. Let's not go too technical, right? All right, and let's not also scare them too much. Because I'm sure there's enough to be scared about already, as it were. All right. So security, as we know, personally, I think security is almost always an afterthought. It's something we never really consider until stuff happens. We're almost always reacting to stuff, right? Anyone who is looking to develop a product or a service or a solution is purely thinking about solving a problem. Now, the security around that is usually something that comes up, much later. You build an app today, and the next worry is how safe is this app? Or some hacker sends you a message tomorrow. In the light of what we're looking to do with the free TV app, right? A hacker sends you a message tomorrow to tell you how much access he has to your database of content, right? And how he can take over the world, just by a click of a button. So a lot of times it is usually something we react to. And it's no fault of anyone's really, because, in the end, the job of a content creator is to create content, right? The question of security is something that pops up later. And it's a going concern, like the accountants would say, something we just have to live with and find ways to get around on a daily basis. So the imperative to secure the deployment, use, integration, and administration of this product is often perceived as a constraint or some necessary evil, right? So you find IT playing the role of the police guy, or the showstopper, or the guy who doesn't want the products to launch on D-Day, right? All because we are trying to fine-tune stuff in the back end, or because we've seen some red flags that just tells us we are not ready. So it's an obligation that organizations must grudgingly accommodate. However, given that media and broadcast industry profoundly relies on technology throughout its diverse value chains, it becomes clear that adopting, deploying, and enforcing robust security measures and policies is not just optional, but essential. Now, to this end, these safeguards are critical to preserving the confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, and availability of invaluable media assets. So looking ahead, the cybersecurity landscape, presents formidable challenges. This year alone, on the list of possible issues we should have in cyberspace in 2025, two, a particular name came up twice, a particular phrase came up twice, and that has to do with AI. How many of us here have seen the AI craze outside? How many of us here saw the MJ in 2025 video that was trending about a week ago? How many of us saw that video? How real did it look? It looked scaringly real, right? I actually saw the one of Tupac having a conversation with Biggie. These are late people, right? Now, if you are not aware of what the reality is, you will accept the AI story as the truth, right? And we hope that on this panel today we'll be able to address, some of these concerns. Now, on this list, we have the rising risk of AI misuse and data breaches and AI-powered financial crimes. These are two issues that are prevalent in 2025 with the rise of AI. Now, we are also told that so these projections underscore a potent and imminent threat vector to global and local media and broadcast sectors, emphasizing the urgent need for proactive and adaptive security strategy. Anyway, in all, the goal here is to bring us to a point where we can have a conversation, around security in broadcast and media. Now, to help me with this and also to lay a foundation and also my final note, I want the media guys to project to the screen a little slide that I prepared, and on the backdrop of this would have our conversation. I hope we'll have our microphones. Bolabo, do you have a microphone next to you? Okay, cool. All right. So slide 1 says that a hacker spends 80% of his time studying the target and 20% executing the hack. Now, this goes contrary to what you see in Hollywood, right? Hollywood makes it look as though it is 1 second in, the other second out, right? Maybe the closer reality here is the 20%, executing the hack. But what actually happens here is that when a hack occurs, the question you should even ask yourself, aside the hack that has occurred, is how much information has been breached? What access did they have? What kind of access do they have? Right? Has a backdoor been created? right? Because a lot of times we do this fire brigade approach where we try to deal with what we think we know. How about the ones you don't know? Now, where are the entrances to this room? Where's the entrance to this room? It's obvious, right? So a thief breaches that door, gets in. Do you think now he has access to this room, he will want to come in through this room, through this door the second time? Chances are that he has created another door you are not aware of. Usually it's called the back door, right? And that's the place that gives them unlimited access, untethered access, as it were, right? So please go to the next slide because it gets a bit more interesting. Now, when we ask you to make your password secure, we are just taking just one vector, just one attack, vector on all of this. I mean, there's a ton of it. When we ask you to make your password secure, this is why. How many of us here can see the screen? We can all see the screen, right? How many of you here have passwords that are less than 10 characters? Now, do you see your category there? Right? Because you are told here that if you have passwords that is less than 10 characters and lowercase only, how long will it take to crack your password? Instantly. Now, look at the most complex password here. We are told it will take, even though it's not exactly visible, the most complex password here will take 34,000 weeks to crack. Now, what does that tell us? For the simplest password to the most complicated password, what does it tell you exactly? That all passwords are crackable, right? So when we ask you to do two-factor authentication, it's for a reason. And this is one of the reasons, right? So on the backdrop of this, we will be having some of our conversations today, and we hope it to be as engaging and as interesting, and probably arouse some curiosity, in your thoughts, as we also lay our thoughts to you today. So finally, the last slide, please, which I think is something that's some sort of Easter egg for everybody. Now, for those of you who use very cheap passwords, passwords that have little or nothing in them, they're just dictionary-based words anyone can easily guess. This publication came out sometime last year, right? There is a file in the wild called rocku2024.txt that contains nearly 10 billion unique passwords, right? Now, there is a link to the right of the screen there. If you click on it, you have access to a ton of brute force tools with which you can crack passwords in a matter of seconds or days if you have the time, right? Now, what is on this screen here is just enough to breach some of your networks, right? And that's just to show you how easy it can be if you make it that easy, right, for the thief to come in. Now, your job and my job, right, is not to do anything other than just make it a bit more difficult, right? Some of us, our passwords are as simple as putting our keys under the rug and walking away, right? So we are here to discuss issues that should hopefully help us change some of the bad behavior, right, that some of us have. Okay, some of the bad behavior that some of us have been living with all this while. So to begin, I want to ask Vesa a question. Vesa, thank you for coming.
Oh, it's on. Thank you very much.
All right, cool.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So why is digital safety no longer just an IT concern, but a strategic enterprise issue for broadcasters and media platforms?
Well, as an analogy to passwords, for example, like what we are in Finland, for example, the direction where we are moving now is that if we think like firewalls and passwords like front end and locks on a door, and the point has shifted from trying to keep the doors locked and the keys safe to the fact that we are no longer, as digitalization goes forward, our digital footprint raises and people use different kind of services for private hobbies, social media, and for work. It's impossible to you can't act as a police anymore, like you said in the beginning. but you have to kind of accept that people are using services, and the only way to kind of manage this totality is to, for one, train people to understand, to have awareness on what kind of risks there are, but another thing is we talk a lot about this like principle called zero trust principle, which basically means that even if we have access somewhere, password for example, so we can open the door, we never trust identity alone, we never trust device alone, but we want to implement these security protocols on all levels because the ideology is that something will always happen, so we need to have transparency through all our systems or our levels, and we always need to identify what's going on there, what identities are operating there, what devices are operating there. So the switch from kind of locking doors to kind of welcoming people to use the services, opening the services, but bringing detection capabilities on all levels. So even if something happens, we can, if someone gets the password, someone can open the door. We need to have different tools for understanding if the act that this person is doing is something that we want to trust, for example. I missed part of your entry question, so am I
Okay, yeah, I mean, the question here just has to do with the concern now. Is it just IT, right, that should be concerned, or the entire organization with regards to security?
It's less and less IT. Of course, IT is there in the bottom, but in the end, it's about trust anyway, and that's trust is like a currency of modern digital age, and due to AI capabilities, due to the information that we have available, coming more and more like flooded with disinformation as well, like building frameworks that create trust to the systems, to public service providers. That's the currency, and okay, technology is in the bottom, but it comes from openness, and it's a lot of governance and awareness building.
Thank you very much for that answer. So from what I hear you say, the responsibility here has gone from IT being purely responsible for information security systems or for securing information systems to something that has become everyone's responsibilities. One of the things I think we should also bear in mind here is an attack would always want to take advantage of the weakest link, the weakest chain in the system, right? And what that weakest chain would expose is, the lowest hanging fruit. I mean, if I was to breach a system, I'm going to look for the easiest way to get in, right? And I'm not going to look for the, I'm not going to bother myself about the very complex, sophisticated ones. But having said that, I would move forward to my next speaker. So please introduce yourself again. And
Okay, thank you. Olamide Obifa is my name.
All right.
I'm a member of CISIAN. I'm ready to represent the Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria. I'm currently the Director of Information Security Development. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Olamide.
Thank you.
All right, so as quickly as you can you help us define the cybersecurity and digital safety challenges for the African broadcast and media industry today? What challenges do you think, they face the most, and where do you think they're most vulnerable?
Wow, thank you very much. And thank you for the organizers of this event. I'm going to speak from this perspective because I've been privileged to work in a radio station before, also in the television station before, and also in some newspaper outlets. So one of the challenges, one of the major threats I see facing most of this organization is, one, there's this threat of, let me say, ransomware attack. And the reason I'm going to come from this perspective is because for media houses, for people that are producing content, they depend on technologies. They use various computing devices. They also depend on telecommunication. And apart from the things they do, all these things, they leverage on technology. So any of these devices leverage on operating system, and they can easily, and if they are attacked with ransomware, that means all the data, all the intellectual properties in which they think they have on all those computing devices they are using for the media stuff can be in a serious problem. That's one thing I noticed also. Apart from that, let's take another example of account takeover. For many times now, we have, many people have online platforms in which, for online streaming, social media, stuff like that, there's a lot of account takeover coming up right now in which people's accounts, apart from emails, in which people take over the account, they start doing funny things on it, and in the process, they end up losing money, they end up losing their credibility. That's another thing I noticed. Another thing there that is very paramount in which, and many of the organizations in Nigeria currently are very vulnerable to it, whereby everybody want to monetize. When people talk about monetization, as a cybersecurity person, I just laugh because there are so many loopholes out there. And many of these times, people claim they are trying to monetize what they are doing, the intellectual properties, films, and content. But they collect people data in the process of card payment and stuff like that. But when the platform gets breached, at the end of the day, the customer data can be exposed to the dark web, to the cyber criminals who can do several things with it. And many of these organizations, many of these people creating this platform, they are not putting security when they are building the stuff. I always say this: what's the essence of the security when the business is not there? But this, my own perspective, is that we need to ensure that we put in security from the beginning of anything we want to do. And that will go a long way to help us. So there are so many threats that the broadcasting, the content creators are facing. But I think because of time, let me just stop here. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that contribution. I'm reminded of an event that occurred with, there's a breach that occurred on Sony a couple of years back, right, where a movie leaked. A movie was released by some thief, right, before it even hit the cinemas. I don't know how many of us remember that particular scenario that played out.
You told us not to scare them too much. That's why I'm doing down. There's so much that I would have loved to mention.
But why did that happen? How many of us remember what led to that breach? Because it wasn't exactly a serious hack. It was because they were running on an old version of Windows, unpatched. Exactly. In fact, let me break your heart. A lot of ATMs across the world run on very old versions of Windows. The only problem is physical access. But we'll talk about that at another date. All right, so moving on. So the next question I have here is for Bolabo. Bolabo, please quickly introduce yourself so I can...
Good afternoon. My name is Bolabo Awelewa. I'm the Chief Business Officer at eSentry, a cybersecurity company. Thank you.
All right, Bolabo, thank you for that quick introduction. So with the adoption of AI and machine learning in media production, what new vulnerabilities emerge? I mean, manipulated videos, deep fakes, all sorts. I mean, we saw MJ the other day. he looked as real as, Versa sitting next to me here. But if I'm not aware that MJ is late, right, how would I know that video is not real? So what vulnerabilities, are we looking at dealing with, in this modern age?
All right, thank you very much. So media organizations, they deal with a lot of information and content. And of course, based on how we've become very social, content is currency now. Information is currency. And yes, the media outlets have become really targeted. And this is why one of the major vulnerabilities or attack patterns is content authenticity threats, which is, are you sure the content is authentic? And there's a need for a lot of fact-finding, getting accurate information, be sure you are getting content from the right source, or be sure that the content you have stored is not manipulated. So right now, you can have worked on some content. Your plan is to publish tomorrow morning. Some bad actor can access and can alter it, and then you'll be presenting the wrong details. So it's become really critical now to ensure you can, confirm the authenticity of content or the information you are receiving or you're about to publish and present. Major vulnerability too now is the insider breaches, insider threat. This is the most popular across every vertical. There would be someone on the production team or a contractor, some resource that is not so skilled, that would knowingly or unknowingly partake in, either exfiltrating content or data or corrupting data too, unknowingly. To be honest, to be fair, we've seen investigations where the person didn't know. I was asked to take this USB and plug it into this drive. I was asked to copy this information and bring it here. I was asked to change this. And the person just didn't think it was going to harm or misinform people, but it goes a long way, and these are some of the things we need to look at. Also, platform manipulation. Today, you can see someone sitting in some faraway region, leveraging bots and different robotics to create and mimic specific content or platforms that people would believe. So there's a specific platform people are used to going to in the morning to get news. Today, people go to that same platform and they would think it's the platform, and they are feeding on information, and it would have created a lot of havoc before they can come back and say, this is a lot of misinformation. So, and literally, it's just prying on the fact that people don't check too much. People won't check too much. So, aside from we, the techie people, or the informed, so there's a lot of awareness going on these days. But the truth is, at times, we just want to pick our phone quickly and just quickly check. Nobody's really checking the handle, the URL. Is it coming from a legitimate source? Also, people like sensational, viral information. So people pick that up and they run with it quickly without verifying. And at times, the simplistic solution to this is checking, fact-checking, making inquiries, asking around. Also, there's technology now. So when we get to talk about for AI, so today you can actually pass content through specific systems to let you know whether it's AI generated or not. You need to invest in that. So, because the truth is, you would also get some free ones that won't fact check properly for you. So, but today you can invest in different tools. Someone sends you a write-up, you can confirm it was AI written. Someone sends you a video, you can tell it was AI generated. And the idea is to just invest in these controls, and then it would help you be sure. Finally, is ransomware, which we've talked about already. It's been around. It will continue to be around. I had a customer that got breached, and when he called, he's been hit by a ransomware. Did you do your backup? He said, no, he didn't do a backup. Do you have it stored anywhere? And he was asking to see how we can help him recover without paying the attacker. So when he said he didn't have a backup, and I'm like, all your master copies, everything is with this guy. He said, yes. I said, you have to pay the guy. So yes, he had to pay, get his files back. Then we fixed his infrastructure, moved it to a very secure location, and going forward, he put adequate security controls in place. So yes, it's really critical as we go into the future. If you are into content management, you're a recording studio, movie production, and you are storing your files in the cloud, it's very important you secure it, encrypt, put all the adequate security controls in place. Most importantly, recruit a security officer. Have someone that is technology savvy, security savvy, working in your organization, helping you secure your data. Thank you.
All right, just out of curiosity, can you let us into how much he paid to ransom his data? I'm not saying to expose anything that is confidential here, but the point here is that I think we need to understand that there's some investment if you don't make, it will cost you a whole lot more than you would have. I mean, that's the cost of his education.
So,
in the end.
So let's just say, I can't give you a figure, but for some of us that have cars, you know how we are not always excited to pay that comprehensive insurance? Exactly.
So that feeling, yeah, it's exactly how you felt.
Exactly. So for example, I did comprehensive insurance it took me about 12 years before I leveraged my comprehensive insurance. Like I was paying it every year for like 2 cars until on the 13th year, an accident happened and I enjoyed, the benefit of leveraging it, which is the same thing having security controls in place will have. That day you'll be hit, it won't happen, or it will be stopped quickly, or you can recover quickly because you've put controls in place. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Bolabo, for that. Okay, and my final question here goes to, please, can you please introduce us all?
My name is Olatunji Barajobi. I work with Cyber Code Limited.
All right, you're welcome, one more. So, very specifically, can you tell us how media organizations, big and small, broadcasters, can defend their platforms, right? Website, app, social media against coordinated misinformation and disinformation. Now, bear in mind that media has grown to a point now where they don't have a choice, right, in their interface with technology, right? Once upon a time, there was a huge gap, right? How many of us remember the TVs on 4 legs that you had to slap on the head when the channel wasn't clear? That's what I grew up watching. Today, your TV has an operating system. It boots up. It can crash. Not the physical crash. I mean a software crash, right? You can be rendered. You can be disenfranchised from your TV just because one bug decided to show up. These things didn't exist before. The reality is different, right? So please, in what ways can media, businesses, right, and broadcast houses protect themselves very pragmatically? Websites, misinformation issues, disinformation issues, because these are the challenges that are prevalent, within their space.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's it's absolutely something that is, in vogue now, especially for media and communication houses. Oftentimes, these sectors consider cybersecurity as financial-driven industry sector things. So when you hear cybersecurity, it's all about the money. But no, it's not about the money. It's mostly these days about the data and about the information that we have. In fact, sometimes attackers will want to go for the data, compared to how much they will go for the money. Because they know eventually the data will eventually turn to a very big money by the time they're selling in the dark web. So for media houses, I think the first point of call is security awareness and education. It is important from top management to your utility staff. They must be aware of the threat out there when they are making use of technology. Whether they are, reporter, they are cameraman, they must understand some nitty-gritty about, how do I even handle corporate information assets? Sometimes it's not just only about the cybersecurity in terms of digital breaches. Somebody who has gone and do an intelligent investigation, who have you recorded, and some people somehow have an information about their whereabouts. They could, move in from physical standpoint. So how is it possible for me to make a record of an information that is very vital and possibly upload it to a platform where I know, even if the physical copy that I have is no longer available, there is somewhere where I can actually easily get that particular information. Those are some of the things that is very, very important for media. And again, for misinformation, you can't go wrong with continuous sensitization of information, especially your platforms. One, I know it will be a little bit difficult to say, you should begin to buy almost all the domains name you could ever think of in this world. It's going to be economically, impacting. Because, for instance, if your news house is saying, abc.com, you might want to go and buy abc.com.ng, abc.co. But one thing you have to also be very, very pay attention to is that you must constantly let your audience know your right platform. Constantly, post it, constantly let them know, because you have rogue, malicious actors out there. It's not going to cost them $10 for them to buy a rogue access, a rogue domain name, and you will think that they're actually, audience and people that are not paying due diligence can easily just go to those platforms and think they're actually on your webpage. So you must ensure that you do proper sensitization of your right platform to your audience, so that when they visit it, they know that they're absolutely visiting the right webpage. Then again, encryption of your website. One of some of these things that actually happen is that oftentimes, because media people consider their platform as an information page. It's not like I'm passing through any payment gateway. It's not like a payment application is on my website, or it's not even that the platform is even giving audience to even log in or create an account. But so they don't want to spend money on just a simple SSL. So buying an SSL, ensuring that you get it from the certificate authority and enable your platform with security is also the right step in direction. Ensuring that you encrypt all the information on your website. And again, for users, those who also post on the platforms, it is the principle that there's something we call something you know and something you have. You know your password, and you either have maybe another authenticator, either Microsoft Auth, either Google Auth. That shows that you know your password, but before you to log into a particular account, a particular information must have been sent to your phone, or either by using an Auth, for you to be able to truly authenticate. That in a way also helps you to be able to maintain your platform security. And again, the principle of segregation of duties. Because something is security, we say something is a single point of failure. If an inputter of a data is also the authorizer of a data, that's a single point of failure. Somebody who was the chief editor, have done the proper editing, is also the one that is going to publish. I mean, at the long run, you will not be able to balance that workflow. So single point of failure, you must work against that. And again, your infrastructure too. So oftentimes, media people consider the environment also technology driven. But trust me, today you can't do anything in media house without a robust, technology infrastructure. You have the satellite jamming, so you must be. It is even important that media house beginning to do security assessment. Trust me, you might be beginning to look at it, what is needed for you. But when you begin to do that, you will be able to understand the threat that your business is exposed to, and how much security control you need to actually put in place to ensure that you are able to stay secure.
All right. Thank you very much for that very detailed set of suggestions. And I don't know if we have opportunities for Q&As, but I think I'm told we've exhausted our time. All right, so do we have opportunities for Q&As? Okay, nothing. Sorry? All right, not a problem. All right, so thank you very much to our dear DG and everyone else in the house. We appreciate you for this opportunity.